Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but grabbing some archives here. This is May 2021. Derek Rogers, Director of Construction of Christian Brothers Automotive. We thank him for being on the cover. And I always like holding the magazine. Let's see. This one was 160 pages, and let's see what I was doing. I was at. We did our first digital event here in Atlanta, over in this recording studio over by the Battery where the Braves play, and I was at the soundboard checking the, test 1 2 3, doing all that kind of stuff. But had my Georgia Swarm lacrosse shirt on. It must have been the lacrosse season there, but it's all. I had a little more hair, and I wasn't, and it wasn't as gray. 4 years ago. So time does, as you get older, man, you get grayer. That's just the reality of it. But anyway, it's nice holding the magazine. Don't miss the printer. Don't miss the post office. Last issue I printed was August of 2021, and we went 100% digital. Still lay the magazine out so you can print it. Print on demand, they call it POD. And it's on heavy paper, and it never looked nicer. But last year we had just under 49 million people hit the website consuming content. And this year, if everything works out and you can keep Google happy and the algorithms, I'll probably go anywhere between 70 and 80 million people consuming content. To all you out there, I am grateful that you find us on the website. And it's just been an amazing ride from print face-to-face to digital, and I couldn't have done it without you. And we try to keep everybody happy, but we're in a niche. We're in that construction, retail, design, build, maintain, real estate, procurement, and it's such an exciting time to be alive right now. There's so much going on. Construction, we're all just waiting for the interest rates to come down, and the economy is going to freaking explode. And in construction with AI and everything else that's going on with it, and the occupancy rate, what are they going to do with some of the open buildings that are in all these cities? What are they going to do with them? Whoever has that silver bullet is going to make $1 trillion. And it being construction and just being alive, and today, every day is history. So I'm sitting out here in my house. Some of you know I've been building my house. I've been here for now 2 months. We finished the build. I've unpacked. I've got everything done, and my studio's done. I got the neon signs up, but I kind of like sitting out here on the porch. It's nice out. It's dog days of summer. There's no humidity. It's about 85 degrees. I'm sitting here in the shade, and I just figured, hey, I'm gonna keep doing them until Mother Nature rains me out one day or whatever. But in any event, hey, it's the end of the week. You got Labor Day weekend coming up, and we've all earned it. Rest and recharge your battery, and then hey, it's fall, the holidays, and the end of the year, and boom, 2026 is here before you know it. I don't even know where the whole year went. I just thought it was January 1st. It feels like it. So today, I have a nice gentleman. He's way out on the West Coast up there in San Fran. His name is Luis Belmonte. Luis, say hello to our listeners out there in commercial construction.
How are you? Pleasure to be here. Beautiful view in your backyard. Great day in Atlanta.
Yeah, hey, it's every day it's been raining. So I live up on the lakes right behind there. That's nature. I think that's about 60 acres of fifth generation. The children own it, and I think they got a 10-year contract that they can't do anything on. They want to sell it. The parents, they want it to keep it where it is. So we'll see what happens. But but hey, Luis is a retail tycoon. He's an author. He's a jack of all trade developer. And with the housing shortage and real estate and all this stuff going on, I figured I'd have someone there that's been in the trenches, even though he's only 26. That he knows what he's doing. So here's how we're going to work it, Luis.
Oh, thank you very much. So my father got out of high school in Nevada in the 20s and homesteaded some land outside of Yerington, Nevada, and started a dairy farm. And he was plugging along, milking cows and raising potatoes. And in 1929, the local bank closed. foreclosed on his land loan, wiped out his savings, and he hitchhiked out of town, leaving carloads of potatoes on the siding. And he never ate another potato as long as he lived. And for a while, he made a living as a mule skinner on road crews and breaking wild horses. Sat up on a horse and till it quit bucking for $5, which is a hard way to make a living. And then he went back to school, the University of Nevada in Reno, and worked his way through as a bootlegger, supplying liquor to the fraternities. And when he got out, he got a job with the government, with the Department of Agriculture, and where he stayed for the next 30 years because getting a regular paycheck after the Depression was a really big deal.
Oh
But
yeah.
he was an entrepreneur at heart and always had rent houses and ran cattle and walnuts and chickens and all kinds of stuff. Always had side gigs going on. And so my folks divorced when I was 5, and I went to live with him when I was 16 and became a undercompensated farmhand, property manager, handyman, and also did the income taxes because he was a little sloppy about his bookkeeping. So I had some experience in the business, uh, and I went off to college and then graduate school. And I came home when he had cancer and helped my stepmother nurse him. And after that, I went in the Navy and I went to Vietnam uh, and got out in 1967 at the end. I got in a flat in San Francisco with a high school classmate of mine and went to work for a corporate job. And my flatmate was got himself upside down a little real estate deal. He met some hippie in a saloon who convinced him that he should put up the money and buy 2 flats in the Richmond district of San Francisco, which were being used as a Chinese takeout restaurant. And the hippie would do the work, and my partner would put up part of his inheritance to buy the building. But very little work was going on, and he was frightened. And I didn't much like my job, so I said, "Well, if you pay me $3 an hour, I'll strap on my tool belt, and we'll finish this job up and sell it, and you'll get your money back," which we did. And then he and I went into business buying beat up buildings and upgrading them. The next one we bought, we got it really cheap because the foundation had collapsed in one corner. And I went down to the tool rental place and rented 3 screw jacks, and we jacked it up 1/8 of an inch a day so we wouldn't break the plaster, and then poured a new foundation under it and added a couple of bedrooms and rebuilt the kitchen, and we did okay. And then we did a really dumb thing. We bought a house out of an estate, $28,000, 10% down, 2-year carryback. Finished all the hardwood floors. I redid all the double hung windows. There, we had the best operating double hung windows in San Francisco. We put in a new kitchen, added a bathroom, and we came to market as our loan was expiring. Interest rates were 9.5%. We were overpriced for the neighborhood. Our loan was coming due. We had no idea how to refinance. We had no pocket hold it as a rental. We just got slaughtered. And so that taught me a lesson. Stay out of the taste business. You ain't no teach. We should have gone in, painted the center white, got the windows working, threw some rugs down, and sold the sucker. We'd have made good money. And the real tragedy was the anesthesiologist who bought it put in wall-to-wall carpeting and aluminum windows. I damn near cried. So,
Oh
it,
man,
it,
I
but
feel your pain.
it taught me a lesson. So at that point, I got married. My wife was pregnant. A few months later, that's how we used to do it in the old days. I realized completely passe. So
Mhm.
I needed regular income. And I continued to buy little apartment buildings in San Francisco and work on them nights and weekends, but I needed regular paycheck. So I ended up going to work for a national warehouse development company based in New York City. And It was a wonderful experience. Wildly over levered due to circumstances I won't bore you with. So I spent my life bobbing and weaving and fending off creditors and doing all kinds of obscure stuff in order to get deals done. And So I had 1 million feet of warehouse space to lease, including 400,000 feet of what was called public warehouse in those days, which was basically storing and handling freight for customers.
Hmm.
We ran forklifts, and I had 20 some Teamsters, and basically a warehouse operations business. And After I was there 3 years, my paycheck bounced, and my expense check bounced, and my bonus check bounced, which is a hint that things aren't going well. And the company went broke in a cloud of dust. And at the time, they went broke at Christmas time, which is inconvenient. And My wife had already gone out and done the Christmas shopping. But the watching the bankruptcy unfold was an incredibly useful experience. And all of the buildings had been sold and leased back. So there were 100 and some odd owners of the buildings trying to get their buildings back out of the bankruptcy court, and all the ones in the Bay Area and Nevada where I was running things were calling me day and night saying, "What do we do? What do we do?" And So I got to watch the whole bankruptcy process unfold, which was the best experience I ever had because the buildings were fine, but the financial structure was unworkable. I started to
Yeah,
learn.
there's got to be a middle point where both people can win, right?
Yes. So then I'm looking for work, and I went to work for a Texas-based developer, and was their warehouse guy. And eventually, I was the partner who built in Northern California. I built 18 million feet of warehouse space in 16 years I was with them. I demolished, upgraded, financed, leased, managed. Whatever. I was one of the biggest warehouse builders in California at that point, and and our business was based on two things: the tax code and inflation. So we raised our equity from people who were trying to lower their tax obligation, and the top marginal rate was 50%. And we leverage the sucker as hard as possible, raise equity, scrape off the top, wait 3 to 5 years, inflation was runaway, sell the building for a big nominal profit, pay the investors back, get another scrape, and go on about our business. Come 1986, the whole thing exploded. Reagan's tax bill came out. Top marginal rate went to 28%. There's a firewall between investment losses and ordinary income. The whole tax business went to hell.
Yeah,
Inflation came
interest rates were
down.
18% there in the mid 80s,
The um,
yeah.
the the buildings were heavily levered in order to create interest deduction, and when their value went down, they were all underwater. So every developer in the United States was upside down, upside down. So I got to watch all of that happen, and I ended up going to work for an investment advisor because I figured from now on the institutions are going to own the commercial property. The developers are out of business. And today, anybody who calls himself a developer is probably an indentured servant of an institution. They're not really owners of the property. They're working for an earnout, and they get the last dollar if it's there. So I decided to get on the other side of the table, and I went to work for an investment advisor who had pension funds and university endowments as clients. Um, they hid me on a separate floor because they didn't want anybody to know they had a developer on the payroll. And the early 90s were the worst recession in commercial real estate ever. In my whole almost 60 years in the business, that was the worst. But I was on the money side, so I was all right. And I eventually became the highly exalted executive vice president in charge of every screwed up deal we had in the United States. And we were a startup business, so we did a lot of takeover stuff from other advisors who'd screwed things up. And when institutions trade property with each other, they always throw some dogs in the portfolio. So I got all the dogs. And I loved it. Nobody wanted to talk about my deals. So I'm going around all over the United States, hiring managers and leasing agents and contractors and fixing things up, which I loved. And then toward the end of the 90s, we saw some real bargains in the marketplace, which our clients weren't interested in because they'd been burned. And we started in Silicon Valley, which the real estate was on its ass, and they were giving away buildings. And so we tied up a big portfolio of buildings, some of which I thought were not very good buildings. And I said to the boss man, why couldn't you put some good stuff under contract instead of this crap? And he said, that's your job, you dummy. It's a timing play, which you know, got in my head. Don't fall in love with the bricks and sticks. We're here to make money, and but none of our investors were interested. And he said, and he's the smartest guy that I've ever been around in the business. He said, we're not doing this anymore. When we see a deal, we got to be able to perform. So we did what's called a roll up, and we had something like 105 clients, and we sent out a big, thick prospectus saying, we'd like you to deed us your property in return for stock in our company. And because we had good credibility through all the bad times, because we told them the truth all the way along,
Hmm.
85 of them signed up. So we went public on the New York Stock Exchange as AMB Property Corporation, which is now Prologis, the biggest REIT on earth, 1.5 billion feet of warehouse space worldwide. And, a great home run for me, even though I was one of the lesser principals in the deal. And after that, I ran the development program, and we built all over the United States in most of the major markets, including Atlanta, Dallas. And then I opened up our shop in Mexico, built in Japan, in Tokyo or by the Tokyo airport, Narita, and in Singapore. And then in 2004, when I was 64, the uh, the boss said, "I believe you're getting a little too old to be an international road warrior," and I agreed with that. So, I got a very nice handshake out the door, and I retired from corporate life, and then I resurrected a little operation that I'd been running all along. I had a street partner who was doing buildings for Walgreens, and so I resurrected that little business with him, and we built 30 Walgreens and sold almost all of them to build a balance sheet. And then we became small-time developers, mostly with our own capital. So we built out pad sites on the Walgreens land we bought, and then we started buying beat up stuff that we could upgrade. And then we got into the low income housing business. We got a little over 500 units of low income housing, which is absolute brain damage to build, but involves very little capital. So my mission in life is that I don't have to go to capital sources anymore and write dumb reports. That we are truly developers, but in order to do that, you got to do fairly small deals, which we do. Although our low income deals are big deals, but you can raise capital in layers to pay for the whole thing. So that's where we are today, and we're having a good time, and I don't have to be in the taste business at all. I'm just a low cost producer. We got the cheapest rents in town for safe, affordable places. That are well policed and well maintained, and we have little storefront retail and secondary and tertiary markets in Oregon, and we're happy campers. Whole story.
First of all, thank you for your service. What branch were you in? Did you tell
I
me?
was in the Navy, but I
Oh, you were in the
spent
Navy. What did you do in the Navy?
well, I spent two tours sailing up and down the coast of Vietnam. Before that, we were on the Arctic Barrier Patrol watching for Russian missiles in a rust bucket World War II vintage destroyer escort. And then I spent the last 14 months with the 1st Marine Regiment in Vietnam, south of Da Nang. I was a fire support coordinator, and occasional forward observer. The Marines are a tremendous outfit. I learned most of the good lessons I know in management from the Corps.
Listen, we appreciate your service. My my grandfather was in World War II. He was a combat engineer underneath Patton, and
Yeah,
he rebuilt all of the bridges that were blown up that they needed, for infrastructure after the war was over. 8 millimeter film of all the tanks and the jeeps that came back to our scrap metal shop about 15 minutes west of Valley Forge in Pottstown, outside of Philadelphia. And we were in recycling and sustainability before that was even a word. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
and
you missed an opportunity. There's something in Kasota, Minnesota called Drive a Tank, and the guy's got a wrecking yard, and he's got a Centurion tank, armored personnel carrier, self-propelled gun. We've been twice.
oh yeah.
In the tank, and if you pay extra, you can drive a tank over a wrecked car. So.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Well,
well, drive a tank, Kasota, Minnesota. I'll give him a plug.
like I said, listen. Anybody that served, appreciate the service, and that's an unbelievable resume, um, we appreciate it. And I'm
Thank
flying
you.
my flag. It's just one of those things. But talking about, listening to that story about all the pits and valleys, and you're still standing today. That business is just like, hey, it's just like doing battle out there.
Yeah,
As far as
absolutely. Yeah,
I'm listen. I played lacrosse and hockey and lacrosse and
yeah,
in college and prep school. It's just like doing battle. You got to get thick skin. You got to have teammates. You got to have your six. If you're in a foxhole, you got to have rely on. There's no I in team. And the coolest thing, what where my head is right now. We just built this house, and I told my wife, I'm like, look, I hear there's a housing shortage.
yeah.
Let's go do a couple of these a year, and you can do a couple of these other projects. I'll hang out and do my gig, and we could have some fun. And um, it was funny when March 2020 came, the everything got shut down. The first thing I did was I went out and I did my deck, and I told my kid, like, "Hey, we're gonna go get some wood, and we're gonna do the stairs and the deck." And if I didn't do that 2 or 3 months later, those 2x10s or whatever I
Yeah.
bought,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it would have been
Crazy.
like
Yeah. Well,
400.
we built an office building for the Veterans Administration on a little excess land we had next to one of our low income projects all the way through COVID. And you talk about brain damage and couldn't get inspections and couldn't get elevator and it was just abs. And then we did a deal in Eugene, Oregon, toward the end and we had a 50% overrun and damn near couldn't get a transformer no matter what. I mean, it went crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Well, talking about what an awesome story. Talk about let's talk about March 2020. It's now 5 years later. Basically, they said it was going to be a couple weeks, couple months.
Yeah,
Here we are, 5 years later. We're out of the tunnel. Still some potholes, speed
yeah.
bumps, some bollards in there, and
Well, the first thing I would say is uh, 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 trying to glean lessons out of history can do you a whole lot of good. So when we started building Walgreens, and we're wheeling and dealing and tying up dirt and all that stuff, I told everybody that worked for us, listen, this can end tomorrow. It can end like 86 ended. We have no control over the policies that go on in the boardroom at Walgreens. They could decide to take this in-house. They could pick a national contractor. They could decide to stop building. And about, I don't know, 7 years ago now, through all kinds of corporate machinations. They had a conference call. This is before Zoom. With all of the real estate reps around the country and fired them on the phone off a script. Coldest corporate move I've ever seen. We had 4 deals in committee, 2 of which they'd brought to us because they wanted to do relocations. All 4 got turned down. But we had no front money up to speak of. I mean, we got hammered for a couple $100,000, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a rounding error because I never thought that it would go on forever. So the same thing with interest rates. Starting about 4 years ago, I'm standing behind podiums doing public presentations saying, listen, this business of inflation adjusted interest rates near zero isn't happening. After I left, a Prologis, my boss, borrowed 500 million pounds sterling for 7 years at minus 80 basis points. And I wrote him an email and said, if they're paying you to borrow money, you ought to borrow a billion instead of 500 million. I mean, this is ridiculous. And he wrote back and he said, I'm borrowing money, it's on sale. So my partner and I went through every asset we had and refinanced, fixed as far out as we could get. And our biggest loan we got from HUD, 35 years, 2.74%, that on one of our low income deals, because I remembered when the prime rate was 20. I remembered working for Lincoln Property Company where we had a deal with Principal Financial Group where we could fix financing anytime. I fixed $100 million worth of loans at 10% because we thought we'd never see single digit interest rates again. I sold a house and we were looking around for another place, and I put the money in treasuries at 11 and a quarter. So I remember high interest rates. So when the interest rate, and we were able to get fixed, including swaps in the low fours, even though we were a small time player. And so we refinanced everything. I don't have a loan rolling over till 35, and by then they'll be paid down to the point where it doesn't make that much difference. We can just pay them off, or we can drag cash out if we want to. But the trick is you need to learn from history. And in my view, the interest rates are not going to come down. The last time the Fed lowered interest rates, the 10-year Treasury went up, and the 10-year Treasury is what it's all about. And we got $36 trillion of debt plus a deficit of 2 trillion a year. The Treasury has to turn $6 or $7 trillion a year of paper, and I think that in order to sell that paper, they're going to have to keep the rates at 4, 4.5, 5, because inflation's 2, 2.5. The bond buyers are going to want a real return. So I figure I got to live with these interest rates. If they come down, God bless, but I don't think they will. So I'm acting like they won't. And when I did my first apartment deals, and I'm a punk startup guy, I'm paying 8% for first mortgages on multifamily in a tight market in San Francisco. So, and low bricks and stick prices. And, that was what was normal, and like I say, we got slaughtered when we sold the flip house because rates were 9.5. So, we think these rates are high. In the grand scheme of my experience, they're pretty low.
No, like I said, when I was in Denver in the '80s, it was right after the oil crash. All the buildings were there where they were empty, and everything was expensive. And I just, you know, it, if you wanted to buy a house, they were 18%. People are freaking,
Yeah.
and um, there'll be a lot. I think there'll be a lot. Listen, I don't want to get into a history lesson and on here or get political, but in my opinion, if the interest rates go down to where they should be, the economy will explode. If they keep them where it is, I think it's very political. I know that he just canned. Well, the lady resigned, one of the other governors. So right now, the president has a little.
Yeah.
He's got to fill those slots. So he's basically running the shot. He wants them down to like 1 or 2. He doesn't want them
Well,
down. He wants them down 3 or 4. I know what I
well,
paid for my construction loan here to convert it, and I was talking to the guy who did our loan, and he's like, dude, uh, if they go down, shoot, man, like I turned 62. I took my Social Security. I just
Yeah,
did. And it's paying from, whatever I had left over on here. And, but if they would go down to 1 or 2%, somewhere in there, 2.5, I would take. My wife was, she was in the refi mortgage business, back in the
yeah.
day. And so she gets her calculator out and she's like, oh my God, our mortgage will be nothing at 1 or 2, what we're paying right now. And I said, yeah, as soon as that happens, we'll be refinancing it. And
Well, the problem is we got to sell the bonds, and we got our
no, no, I totally
yeah,
understand. I was an economics major. I
we
get
dug
it.
a 30 now $37 trillion hole, and there's no way around it. So I say we're trapped, unfortunately.
They say that our debt is 36. Listen, those guys drunk, they spend money like drunken sailors. They got the printing press, but
Yeah,
I think this whole thing with I just heard today that Doge is going into all the states and they're going to
yeah,
audit everything. There's so much money that's been wasted. I'm sure there's some debt there, but I don't think it's ours as the people.
yeah.
And I think that the people that spent that money or laundered or did whatever they did with it, those people have to come up with money. We shouldn't have to come up with it.
Well,
And
I agree with that, but I'm afraid it won't happen. But anyway,
no, no, no. Look,
I'm,
hey,
I'm
I can't. That's out of my control. But as a business person, I have a good pulse. You can always tell by the amount of cranes that are up in a city
yep,
what's going on.
yep,
And there's still cranes down in Atlanta. People are still building. You can't build a hospital in a week. Some of the editorial that you see, in some of the papers or whatever, uh, so and so is going to shut down 50 stores, but they're going to build 30 new ones. There's always
yeah.
going to be those that you use the word perfectly. Some of those dog leases that you had, there are some dog stores out there that haven't been
Yeah.
renovated and they haven't
Oh
seen a
yeah.
facelift, and you might as well get rid of them and get them out of your portfolio because they're just dragging you down, and go build somewhere where you've got location, 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 right?
There's going to be a lot of growth, I think, because of AI. That's going to improve
Oh,
productivity, and productivity is what it's all about. If you improve productivity, you create wealth, and it's going to be slower than everybody projects, just as the internet has been slower. Look, we're talking through this technology here. How many years from the time the internet came online to what's going on now have we gone? Things go slower than are projected, but when they come, they increase productivity exponentially. So I think AI is going to do the same thing. It's just going to work some kinks out. We have to build some data centers. We got to change some transmission lines around. We got to build some nuclear power plants. But in the due course of human events, 10 years from now, we're not going to recognize all of this. And instead of fiddling around and rebooting, we're just going to touch the button, talk to each other, and then you're going to be able to edit with AI or something. I actually tried to get my books on Audible using AI, and it worked, but not as well as it should. So I said to the guy who's helping me, let's just wait 6 months or a year and try again.
yeah, and the
When it
software will be there, and AI
because
will be
it's
able to
going to
do it.
get better. And I got some medical treatments going on that are not a cure. They're kind of get you to the next year kind of stuff. And I'm happy to do that because a year from now they're going to have something better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Listen, I had a conversation last week with someone that was in software, and I told him, I said, look, without AI, the country wouldn't have done as well over the last couple of years, because when March 2020 came, everything shut down, and then everybody was in limbo. A lot of people took a look at their homes, their condos. There was a big spike in DIY.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. And when 21, 22, 23 kind of planed out. In the
Yeah.
last couple of years, we've just kind of been hanging. And now the election's over. You got the midterms coming up, but pretty much we're at the end of the year. And a lot of my clients in construction, they like through the last 5 years,
Well,
they
the other thing AI is going to do is ramp up modular construction.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
and the last time we built a condo project about 10 years ago, on Mission Street in San Francisco, and we went out and interviewed modular builders. But the problem was staging the stuff in an urban area. I looked at what they were doing and I thought, there's no way in hell we can do this at the intersection of two busy streets.
Right.
We'll never be able to clog the streets up the way we need to use this. But once you get the transition such that the right piece can show up on the right day, really, then you can build modular and at 40 or 50% of the cost, and robotics are going to build the parts in the factories as opposed to hiring union carpenters, and so the price of housing is going to come down. And if we use AI correctly, and if the voters have any sense, we'll get some of the permitting crap out of the way, and we'll be able to. I mean, one of the real influences of my life was going to Levittown outside New York City, where, Levitt built houses for veterans coming home from World War II, cookie
Oh yeah,
cutter,
Levittown. Yeah, man,
and
that's an
and
icon.
the same thing in San Francisco. All the Irish carpenters came to San Francisco and built Victorians, and I bought three flat buildings for 15,000 a unit, and my rents were $125 a month. I mean, they
Sure.
and when I peeled the wallpaper off in one of the first buildings I built, there were notes on the plaster telling the tradesmen where the next building was starting. I mean, they were writing to each other saying, go down the block, there's work. So it's possible that we can do this. I'm very optimistic about the future growth of the country, but I'm not optimistic that interest rates are going to be the fuel that gets us there. I think AI is going to be the fuel.
So, talking about your books, give us some of your titles that you've written.
Well, the ones they're all on Amazon. They're paperback or Kindle. They're cheap. I'm not trying to make any money. I got Real Estate 101, and the theme of that is kind of a snapshot of each type of commercial real estate: multifamily, retail, industrial, and office. Kind of the basics of that, the basics of financing, how to do back of the envelope calculations, that kind of thing. Then Street Dog MBA is kind of things that have happened, things I got wrong, and the lesson I derived from it. So it's just a kind of a little look into the career, saying, I got to this point, and this is the mistake I made, and this is what I think I learned from that mistake, or this is the way the market changed that I didn't anticipate, and this is what I think I learned to kind of put in the back of my head. So when you see a situation, the alarm bells go off. Street dog negotiator. What I'm trying to tell people there is, forget about winning. What you need is the attitude of indifference, where you don't care whether the deal is made or not. You never walk into a room where you absolutely have to do a deal, and if you do, just get the best thing you can and get the hell out of the room. But don't go in attempting to win. Have a list of things you need and a list of things you'd like. If you get everything you need and some of what you like, tell the other team they win and leave. You don't need to win. You just need to get your basic need done. And if you go into a room and your basic need and the basic need of the other team conflict, just stop, because you're never going to get there. So it's not a matter of win-win or win and lose. You just get what you need and go to the next deal. And then Street Dog Manager. The theme there is, if you're running an organization, you're not the boss, you're the servant. And if you serve the needs of the organization, money and prestige and power will follow. But if you're seeking money, prestige, and power, and you're not serving the institution, you're going to go away in the due course of human events. So don't think of yourself as the boss. Think of yourself as a servant, and look at the needs of the organization. So that's my little, those four books are what I recommend, and and a few funny stories, I hope, and take what you could use and leave the rest behind, and you haven't spent much money.
Hey, I'll put all the list of his Amazon books on there and the titles and so forth in the description, and go check it out. You're talking the history here,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the way that
no,
I
no,
look.
no, war stories, war stories.
Yeah, no, this is great. If there was someone out there in commercial construction and coffee talk land and they're listening to you and they wanted to reach out to you, how would they contact you?
L Belmonte at 7hp.com. The number seven. It's for Seven Hills Properties. The Seven Hills of San Francisco, the Seven Hills of Rome, or
Sure.
WAPS, my partner and I. 7hp.com. L Belmonte at 7hp.com. I'm semi-retired. I have time on my hands. If you got a question, I'll try and answer it. And I used to teach occasionally at Stanford Business School, and one of my A and B partners was the adjunct professor, and his line was, not always right, but never in doubt. That's how he described me. So, I will render an opinion on whatever you ask me. It might be right, might be wrong, but you'll get something.
Well, once again, when I do my editing, I'll put that in there. Also, I'll add your email to the description and
Good.
so forth too.
Perfect.
And so, if you're out there and you're thinking about real estate, all sorts of stuff, there's also opportunities. No better time than the present. Timing of business is everything, but sometimes you just can't control it. You got to go for it. If anyone wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, Lewis got on here. His publicist sent me a press release, and I was looking. I was like, "Oh man, this person's pretty good character." I hadn't even met him until we logged on. But I'm looking at the resume. I'm like, "Oh no, man, he's probably got some serious stories. We're gonna have this person on." So, uh, uh, shoot Lewis a note and see where the conversation goes. And there's plenty of dirt out there. Someone's got to get it done. And like I said, it's an amazing time to be alive. So, Lewis, as we finish up, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave with our listeners, what would it be? As we finish up the third month of Q3 and the last quote Q4 and go into 2026.
The most money you're ever going to make if you play your cards right is in the middle of a recession. Big money in real estate is made by those who have cash when nobody else does. So when everything seems to be going to hell in a handbasket, get in there and do some deals because a gorilla can make money in a rising market. It's making money in a falling market is what it's all about. And if you're ready, there's bargains out there.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, I left. I resigned from Nielsen in December 17th, 2001, right after 9/11, and everybody's like, "Don't do it, don't do it." My parents told me, and my heart was where it was, and I just became an entrepreneur. And like I said, you don't know when the best time is going to do it, and then if you wait and wait, you miss so many opportunities. It's like, hey, look, you're beat up, you got a torn hamstring, you're just beat up from the last game, but you got to go out there and play the next game, and then you got to go in there and put your game face on. So
And the most important thing is, as I look back across my career, I've had so much fun. I've done what's in my wheelhouse. I do this in my old age for giggles, and that is the greatest gift a person can have in their career is to do something that interests them, that they find rewarding, and they can do for fun. And uh, uh, my investment committee these days is me and my partner, and the answer is when we're looking at a deal, will this be fun or won't it? If it won't be, we ain't doing it. And if it will be, get right in there. Get in there and wallow.
yeah, I always say the day if you're not having fun, go do something else, man, because
Yeah,
life is short, man.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy. Hey, as we finish up, a couple things. If you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your wife, your husband, your kids, your pets, laugh, watch some tube, catch some REM sleep, go be able to do it the next day. Number two, listen, it's still summertime. Got to drink water on the construction site. This is the athlete in me. Um, when you stay hydrated, you don't make mistakes. You make the right pass. You put the puck in the net. On the construction site, you won't slice your finger. You don't get headaches. But if you put some electrolytes in your water bottle and you drink and you stay liquefied, not only will you have a great day on the site, but you'll have a nice night. You'll sleep better, and you're going to have that much of a better day the following day.
And use some sunscreen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, I grew up with baby oil, so I hear you there. last but not least, hit the like button so people will find the algorithm out there on YouTube land, and we'll find this episode and they can hear Lewis's story. So, Lewis, pleasure meeting you. Hey, if I come out to the West Coast, I'm going to look you up. I got to meet you in
Look me
person.
up. Wait, 7HP. We got a website. You got the contact. You got my email.
Yeah, I'm going to put all
Be
that in the
happy to
description.
see you.
Yeah,
I'll,
I'm a road warrior still.
I'll even pay for lunch.
Hey, I never turn down a good meal. I don't care if it's a PBJ. So
You could pick the spot.
yeah, it. Uh, I think I've got an event out in. I think it's in LA. It's South U. When I come out, I'm going to give you a heads up. We'll get
Good.
together. And,
Perfect.
but I'm going to put all your books and so forth in the description. But what a great story. Thank you for finding the time. And listen, everybody, today's Thursday. You got Labor Day tomorrow, Friday. Listen, Monday was a wind-up day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on these short holiday weeks. So like today, you got to get the most of it done because tomorrow it's time. People are going to be traveling. Monday, if you don't have to work this weekend, recharge your battery, get rid of all those negative thoughts. Positive thoughts, blinders on. And Tuesday, when you start, man, it's a race to the end of the year. And just stay positive and find people that want to play in your sandbox. And don't surround yourself with negative people, man. They're like cancer, man. You got to get rid of it. And you only have so much time in a day. And like Lewis said, man, have fun. I have fun every day. That's why like I said, if I don't go blind or get arthritis, I can keep doing my magazine for a long time. So, Lewis, say goodbye from San Fran.
Yep. Goodbye from San Fran. Keep trucking.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm signing off from Lake Lanier, about 30 miles north out of downtown ATL. And listen, go have a great rest of your Thursday. Have an awesome TGIF tomorrow, Labor Day weekend. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Lewis, you're the man, and thank you for your service. All right.
Thank
Go
you.
Navy. See you later.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.